This is TOKYOREAL. I'm Ian Simpson, and in the studio with me today is Sam Harris. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for having me.
Now, you are a professional rugby coach and former professional player. You played rugby league, rugby union for a number of clubs. Run me through them.
Yeah, no worries. So I started my career with the Warathars, New South Wales. Had 2 years there. Transitioned to rugby league with the Manly Seagulls for 3 years. Moved to the West Tigers, also in rugby league, for 1 season, and then came back to the Waratahs for 2 seasons. After that stint, came to Japan, played for Honda, and then went back to Australia and played for the Western Force in Super Rugby.
Oh, after Honda, you went back to Australia, and you come back again as a coach now.
That's correct.
Right. That's why we are here now on TOKYOREAL, because you're back in Japan.
Yes.
As an ex-player myself, I'm interested. Question: which would you prefer to play, league or union?
I get asked that question a lot. What I preferred to play was rugby league, but probably what was more suited to me was rugby union.
Right. Why do you say more suited to you?
Um,
Because you're a big guy.
yeah.
I can imagine you punching holes in people.
Yeah, and I like to attack, and I like to throw caution to the wind. And sometimes in rugby league, it's more of a percentage game, and you've got to play the percentages and not throw the risky passes, and that's what I like to do. And I think in rugby it gets punished less than it does in rugby league.
Right. Yeah. So let me take you back to where it all began. How did you get into rugby?
I actually started off playing rugby league as a junior. I played 10, 12 years of rugby league from the age of 6. And one day at school, a teacher asked me to play rugby union at a zone carnival. And I said, no thanks. He goes, you get 3 days off school. I said, I'm there, sign me up.
Right.
And then from there, I made it all the way to the Australian schoolboys, played against the All Blacks, beat them. Same year, toured the UK and Ireland with the New South Wales CHS. And from that point on, I fell in love with rugby. I fell in love with touring the world, seeing all these fantastic places, meeting all these fantastic people, and it started from there.
Mm-hmm. So you were lucky in a way, because you came into the game because of your age group when the game was professional.
That's correct.
Whereas I played most of my rugby in amateur rugby, and
yeah.
How has the game changed since it's gone professional and in the past 20 years? What are the biggest changes that have happened, do you think?
Yeah, I think from a football point of view, the professionalism around training, recovery, analysis, your physical attributes are key, and you're going to be judged on that, so you need to work hard in the gym. Off the field, you're more heavily scrutinised in the social media, by the newspapers, because it's now professional. You're owned by the public, where when it wasn't professional, you're a law unto yourself and seen no good time.
That's right. Pro players now, they have to really behave off the field as well as on it.
Yeah.
Because they are role models, and they're wearing the logos of the sponsors.
Sure.
And they have a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah.
Where in the old days, basically anything goes. But the other thing, the training. I mean, what I notice when I see players going out of the field now, they are so much bigger than they were when I was playing. There's some monsters out there now. That's basically because people are pumping iron every day, I guess, training every day. Yeah? Yes,
and there's better education out there, so now people know exactly what they're trying to achieve, whereas maybe when I started out, it was 4 reps of 10 on bench press, but now they've evolved a lot better. The training is more specific, and they achieve more to what they want and get better results because of it.
Mm. Because the players are bigger, bigger and faster. What about the incidence of injury? Is it increasing?
I don't think so. I think if they're trained well, their movement patterns in their body through their powerlifting, all the rest of it, I think there's the lower risk of injury because everything's where it's supposed to be in the body. So yes, on one side of the coin, your opposition's stronger and more powerful, but so are you. So I think they cancel each other out. I don't think there's more injuries. I just think, like anything, there's more awareness around it and probably more publicised.
Yeah, maybe I get a false impression because when I go to some of the Japanese games, I see the players running out in the field, and the amount of tape they have on their bodies, I'm thinking, well, these guys must be in a right mess. I heard a rumour that there's I think this is quite a regular thing, that they spend close on £1 million a month on taping alone. That is phenomenal.
It wouldn't surprise me, especially because Super Rugby, you've got 30 players. In the Japan clubs, you've got a squad of 45, 50 players. So you've got to get an extra 20 players out onto the training field every day.
Well, that's another thing. You've got players taping up who are like ranked 67th out of 70 or something, and they're taping up and they're just sitting on the bench all the time, or in training they're running around. But I'm thinking, geez, it's all changed so much. But so on TOKYOREAL, what we try and do is guys like yourself, we ask them to give advice to younger players coming through. Sure. So if there are young rugby players out there who want to turn professional in this day and age, what sort of advice could you give them? What sort of things could they do to help themselves become professional players?
Yeah. Personally, I rested on my talents a lot and didn't train probably as hard as I could have. And if you want to become a professional athlete, you've got to be prepared to train as hard as you can, as hard as anybody else is going to do, and be very self-motivated. If you can do that, you're halfway there for sure. So when you've got a decision to make, do I go out and train or do I just keep flicking through Facebook and Instagram? Get out there, work your butt off, and if you do, the rewards will come.
Yeah. So, it's a mindset, isn't it? We talk a lot, whether it be in business or in sport. Self-belief is really important, and if you've got to believe in yourself, and in order to believe in yourself, you've got to train very hard. So from a young age, you have to have a professional attitude.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the difference. I mean, again, in my generation, it was about drinking beer, and we played rugby in between. The whole culture has changed. So young players really got to think like a professional.
Yes.
From the very beginning.
Yeah. You've got to be prepared to do what the other people your age aren't doing. If you can, then that gives you the edge, I think. On the flip side, I think you've also got to have an outlet. You can't be 100% rugby, train, lift weights. You've got to have...
Like cross-training, you mean? Or
no, like...
something completely away from rugby?
Yeah, like surfing, golf, or reading
Yeah.
books, anything. You've got to find something else. I've got a couple of guys in my squad that really need to take a note of that and focus on something else.
Are they Japanese or foreigners?
Yeah, Japanese.
Yeah, that's right. Probably because the Japanese are so focused on what they're there to be doing, what they're told they've got to be doing or whatever, and they wouldn't deviate away from it. So hopefully, what I say, you're coaching over here now. You're coaching at Honda Heat in the top league, and you just had your best season ever?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so... you've got a big coaching team there. I've noticed that you've got a lot of foreign coaches in, and you seem to have all areas of sports science covered.
Yeah.
Is that different from what they've done in the past? Or what would you attribute to this year's success?
Yeah, there's a few factors. We've got 3 foreign coaches. We've got a very good young head Japanese coach. And another assistant Japanese coach who was in his first year but had great energy and gave the team great belief. On top of those 3 foreign coaches, Honda believe in foreign spot coaches. So, we had Ruben Thorne, most successful Super Rugby captain ever. We had Graham Henry come, most successful international coach ever. And they come over for a month at a time, 2 months at a time, and they help us in areas we need helping and guiding the players, and they've been really good for us this year. Yeah,
so it's the whole package of things that come together.
That's right. We also had a foreign S&C come over, Wayne Taylor, and if I had to put my finger on one thing that gave us the chance to have our best season ever, it would probably be him.
He was high performance.
Yes, he covered the high performance, so... That was the S&C. He oversaw the S&C and also liaised with the trainers to the coaches about who can get on the field and who needs to stay in the rehab program. And he did a great job there.
Is that a new kind of role that's been created?
Yeah, it was a role created by Honda. He initially came over just as an S&C spot coach, but they liked what he did and they created this position for him, and he did a fantastic job. He kept players on the pitch and also got improvements in their strength and conditioning through the season.
Now, I hear he's gone off to the Sunwolves.
Yes.
So the Sunwolves, for the viewers that don't know, the new Super Rugby team. Is it 16 now?
No, it was 16. It's now 18.
Super 18.
19.
Okay, all right. So the new Super Rugby team, and it's the first one in Japan. What impact is that going to have on Japanese rugby, do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm interested to see.
It seems to have been thrown together fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Have they... I don't know who's been recruited as players. Do they have a good squad? Or do you know?
Well, I went to watch the game against the All-Stars last weekend, and by the reaction of the public, it looks like it's going to be well supported. There was 15,000 people there for a game that wasn't heavily publicised. So I think the Japanese public are going to get behind it. But in saying that, they have got a good squad, but they're up against it. Teams have been trained. Other Super Rugby teams have been training since November, and they've been a team for, they've been a team together for maybe 3 years, maybe 10 years in like the Crusaders or the Chiefs. They've got these strong squads, whereas this team's been put together 3 weeks ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
They've had one trial game,
and they're going to be playing. So when is their first game?
Saturday.
Competitive. It's this Saturday.
This Saturday.
So, that's a very short build-up, isn't it?
Yeah. So
and I mean, you played Super Rugby and Top League Rugby in Japan. How much is the difference between those two levels? Big jump?
It's a big difference. It's a big difference. But the Sunwolves team have Japanese internationals, Samoan internationals, Tongan internationals that have just played in the Rugby World Cup. So they have experience there, and they've experienced that level of rugby. But the teams that win the Super Rugby Championship have got a very deep squad, and they can call on players if there's injuries, and I don't know if the Sunwolves have got that.
Right, I was thinking that I wondered if they got the strength in depth, because they're going to definitely going to have a lot of injuries. Every team does, And as you rightly said, I guess the teams with a strong B team, the backup team, are the ones that are going to keep going throughout the season and win it.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's going to create that middle level between Top League and Super Rugby. Well, they are Super Rugby, but it's not. I'm thinking maybe there'll be less of a jump for Japanese players if they can go to the Sunwolves and then play Super Rugby. It might fill that gap, between the levels.
Yeah, and it gives them more experience at the top level. Then when it comes up to international games, they're not only getting 10 games a season against international teams. They're better prepared for that level of rugby.
There do seem to be very few in the top league. I mean, it's better than it was. I remember back in the day, they were playing something like 7 competitive games a year, which was incredible for me coming from Wales.
Yeah.
You know Wales, of course, where men are men and sheep are nervous. Right? It was incredible for me coming from Wales. Although I was only playing amateur rugby, we were playing like every week, and sometimes twice on a Saturday, or on a Saturday and Sunday, Yeah. And even the professional players were doing that. And you come to Japan, and the top players were playing 7 meaningful games a year. How many are you playing now in the top league?
Well, this year was a shortened season, so we only played 10 games.
10 games.
But next season is going to be 15.
When you were back home as a professional player, how many games were you playing a year then? 30 plus?
Yeah, around the 25 to 30 mark.
3 times, isn't it? Yeah. Now, the Rugby World Cup has just finished.
Yep.
Japan probably had their most successful Rugby World Cup ever.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Yep, and it's great. I mean, everybody now in Japan is talking about rugby. Mostly like this, but
yeah.
But they know about it,
Yeah.
so that's great. So is this? But unfortunately, Eddie Jones is gone. Is this a new beginning, or is it a bit of a false dawn? What do you think is going to happen after this Rugby World Cup? Can we maintain the momentum?
I think they can. I think they can. I mean, yes, Eddie's gone, but I think it was probably his time to go anyway. He'd been here 5 or 6 years and done a great job, but it was a battle until the World Cup. All the time before that, they had to work their asses off, and he had a vision and he made it happen when it mattered, which is great. But I don't think he would have been able to sustain that just because of the letdown after the World Cup. But they did a great job.
But his peak, I guess, was peaking for the World
Cup.
Right. So,
that's right.
Job done.
Yeah. I think moving forward, Jamie Joseph coming in to coach the team, good coach with good credentials, with fresh ideas, might be just what the team needs. So,
and he's played in Japan, hasn't he?
Jamie Joseph?
Right. Yeah. So he understands the culture. And Japan, we are hosting the next Rugby World Cup in 2019.
Yeah.
So this is an important 3 years for Japanese rugby.
It is.
What do you think about the mix of allowing foreigners to play in the Japanese national team? Do you think that's okay, or should the coaches trying to be developing grassroots Japanese-born players for the future? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think there's positives to both, and I think both have to be done. Sometimes people are critical of the Japanese for having foreigners in their team, but it's only because the Japanese players look so different to the other foreigners, if that makes sense. So you've got Japanese players with them, you've got Samoans, Tongans, Australians sometimes. But you look at the All Blacks, you look at the Wallabies, they've got Samoans, they've got Tongans playing for them and making up a third of their squad. It's the same thing, it just looks so different when it's in Japan jerseys.
Yeah, actually you're right. If you look at especially teams like Scotland now, they've got even Wales have got a number of players who weren't born in Wales or Scotland. So I guess it happens everywhere. It's a big chance for Japanese rugby in 2019. So let's hope we get it right.
Yeah, I think no matter where you are in the world, the key to rugby or any sport is grassroots. And I just hope that Japanese don't pull all their money to the Japanese national team, the Sunwolves. I hope that they see the benefit of the foundation of rugby and investing in the kids in high school, in universities, and working from there.
That's what always impressed me when I went to Australia and New Zealand, is that from grassroots level, from nippers, there was always a structure where the kids, they knew where they were going. They were being nurtured to go to the very top from nippers.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we have that in Japan. So it's very important to put that structure in place, as you say, the foundation for Japanese rugby. So let's hope the JIU get it right.
Yeah.
So you're here now, you're coaching. Talk to me a little bit about the cultural barriers you come up against as a foreign coach in Japan.
Yeah. I think I never really wanted to be a coach. I thought it was a little cliched as a professional player, but when I came to Honda and I played, I did a lot of coaching to the players, and that's what really ignited my passion for coaching rugby. Then when I got over here, the challenges are the cultural differences. You understand there's cultural differences, but sometimes you don't know what they are, and that's the challenge. Not only cultural challenges, but also company first rugby team challenges. So yes, we're a semi-professional or professional rugby team, but we're also a major corporation in Japan, and there's always that the company has to come first, and what the players are doing within the company. There's always that in the back of their mind, and that's what overrules things. So sometimes as a foreign coach, you don't know what those things are, and they can prove to be a challenge as well.
Yeah, how about the language barrier? You could speak a little bit of Japanese now.
It's getting there.
Yeah. Is that been a big barrier, language?
It is tough, and it's a steep learning curve for a coach, especially For a coach like me, I try to be quite articulate with my message, be very specific, but sometimes when that happens in Japanese, it's very hard to translate, and sometimes can't be translated.
No, yeah.
So you really have to water down your message, but make sure that the key points are focused on.
Yeah, I remember when I was coaching, I had to learn key phrases that were effective, and it does make you be very concise and precise in what you're saying, because you can't say very much.
Yeah.
So what you say has to matter, you know.
Yeah.
And often conveying feeling, I used to find that it's just better to convey feeling in English.
Yes.
Because they understand it.
Yeah. Agreed.
If you try and speak Japanese, they just laugh at you. But normally, if you want to have a rant at them, have a rant in English, and they'll understand what you're saying. You know.
Yeah.
So, but I think it must be difficult for foreign coaches. And I remember when I first came here from top league in Wales, and I remember I felt like a beginner when I was first coaching because I couldn't communicate. I couldn't speak any Japanese, and it was really difficult. You get a lot of foreign coaches coming over here who may be famous coaches, ex-famous players, and they're coming in, and I often wonder how effective they can be initially.
Yeah.
Because I think they don't realise the culture of Japanese rugby is so different from Australian rugby or New Zealand rugby.
This is my third year, and I've found it easier every year. My forwards coach, it's his second year. He's been a lot more effective this season because he had that 1 year of getting his feet wet. And then the backs coach, it's his first year. He's really had some struggles, with the cultural differences that sometimes at my stage in 3 years, I just go, righto, I understand why that is. I'm not going to pick that fight, or I'm not going to expend energy towards that, and just get on with what my job is.
For sure, yeah. I think that you learn to pick your fights, as you say, in Japan, because a lot of them you will just never win.
Yeah.
If you're battling against the company or the bureaucracy with the old boy system within the club, you just may as well say, well, hey, that's the way it is. Yeah. Let's just work around it and get on with it. Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you're right. Sometimes they know you're right, but it's not going to happen. So
no, I think you learn after a while you can't change the system. Yeah. So either buy into it or just get out.
That's right. Yeah. I think that was my big learning this year, was you can't force your will on the team, on the coaching staff. You just got to recommend what you think your best thoughts are, and then if they take it, they take it. If not, let's move on.
Yes, it's everything that happens in Japan, whether it be in business or in sport. They've done everything for so long in one way. To try and change it is incredibly hard. Yeah. And you come here and you're a famous player, a famous coach, and they do listen to you because they pay you a lot of money and you're famous. But the minute you turn your back, quite often they will just go back to doing what they used to do before. Yeah. And it's very, very frustrating for guys like yourself, I'm sure. Yeah. So I guess you just have to buy into it and go along with it.
And also, as I said earlier, just give them key focus points that they can hold on to as well. If you give them too many points or too many points of view, the message gets mixed up and they don't know what to hold on to.
What do you think of the strengths of Japanese players and the weaknesses compared to foreign players?
Yeah, their courage is a strength. Yeah, their courage to carry into a match that they're not going to win, but they don't care. They're going to do their best, or put their body in front of a big ball carrying foreigner to try and make a tackle. I've got to respect that.
They call it big heart. The big heart training that they do.
Their work ethic. No one works harder than Japanese. Also, the pride in what they take in their job, and I'm not just talking about rugby. I'm talking about the guys in the tolls on the roads, or whatever job they have. They just take so much pride in it. So I think that's their strengths. I think their weaknesses are, from a tackle point of view, from the age of 6, foreign players have learnt how to tackle properly. In Japan, you don't get that teaching until maybe your last 2 years of high school, and then the teaching might not be correct in university. So you get to a professional top league team and you might not have a very good tackle technique, and if you don't have that, it's hard to be an effective tackler.
Yeah.
That's just one point of view. You know, other things in line-out lifting, or all very specific facets of the game, if you haven't been taught correctly, it's hard to perform the skill perfectly.
Yeah. Well, we're both backs. And one thing I found was that they were probably better than any teams I've ever played in or coached at sign plays, running sign plays.
Yeah.
They love it. They can do it perfectly. But as soon as you say, don't run the sign play, look at what's in front of you and make a decision, it all sort of goes wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same in everything. I've taught in high schools over here as well, and that sort of creative mind, making decisions on the spot, that's possibly an area that they need to work on.
It's always an area at the end of the season that we recognise that we need to work on.
But the big heart training, that's great. I mean, I've been on training camps and I've run my training session. I think that's it now. The guys are finished, and I've finished, and I'm walking off, and another Japanese coach comes on the field and says, "Okay, guys, I want you to run up the top of that mountain now after 2.5 hour training." I'm going, what? Did you just ask them to run up the top of the mountain? Yes, but it'll build a big heart. Right, okay, say nothing, you know. We're talking about these things because when foreign coaches come here, these are the things that they're going to have to, it's not so much at top league level, but even at university level, these are the things that they're going to have to deal with. But if somebody does want to come here and coach, how would they go, what's the best way to go about that?
Once they're here, or here?
Say they're in Australia or New Zealand now, and they say, I fancy going to Japan, becoming a professional coach. How would they go about that? Are there agents? Are there?
The key would be to find the best agents. There's certain agents in Japan that have got good relationships with all the clubs. Find out who that person is in your country, and then see if he can get you involved in the club.
Are they foreign agents, not Japanese agents?
Yeah, foreign agents, that have got Japanese correspondents in Japan as well. Yeah.
And how are your family adapting to Japanese culture? You got a couple of kids?
I got twin girl. I've got 3 girls, twins that are 6 years old and a 3-year-old, or almost 4. But look, they love Japan. They've been my twins have been in Yochian for 3 years, and they just did their last performance today. It was their last day of Yochian today. It was quite emotional for them and for their mother. But no, they love Japan. I really like the environment that they're learning in. It's teaching them respect. It's teaching them, a lot of things and a lot of values that might be lost back in Australia and aren't getting taught. So I'm thankful for that.
And they must be speaking good Japanese now as well.
They are fluent in Japanese.
Better than us.
in
3 years.
Yeah, the other day I was at a cafe and the Japanese waitress said something to me I'd never heard before. I'm normally pretty good in that environment, and I said, I said, sorry, I don't understand. And one of my daughters said, she asked you, are you ready to order now, or do you want to come back later?
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a reality check for sure.
I've had that happen quite a few times with my kids. Are you a stupid dad or what?
But they've got some very good friends. My wife's made some very good momotomos, and very thankful that the insulation that Japan, but also country life in Japan, Suzuka, has given them, and
it's a good country to live, isn't it?
It is.
The safety aspect of it, the respect aspect of it. It's same with my kids. I like the fact they're being brought up in this society in a way. That's one of the good things about it. I got you here now. One thing I've got to talk about is the infamous Waratahs versus British and Irish Lions game 2001. You played. Graham Henry described it as a bad day in rugby. I watched a video earlier from the kickoff. Before anyone touched the ball, was it Yorlock Bowman took out the jumper for the Lions, yellow card off. From then on, it was downhill. Tell me about your experience in that game.
It was the strangest game I've played in, but also one of the best, most enjoyable games I've played in. I run out onto the SFS in Sydney, 45,000 people. It's packed, and the whole crowd's red. I can't find a Waratahs supporter in there.
Right.
And the game was exciting. I was only 21 years of age at the time, and it was all new to me, and I was soaking it up. But I think the Wallabies had lost the first test. It was the week before the second test.
So Lions won the first test.
Yeah.
And then,
week before the second test, or 10 days before the second test, and I'm not sure if we got a directive to go out there and
I was going to ask you that. Were you told to go out there and rough them up, soften them up?
Yeah, no, I don't think, no, but, we got the message from Bob Dwyer, who was our coach, former Wallaby coach, that, we wanted to be physical. We didn't want to take a backward step. This is the British and Irish Lions. That's what their key calling is for this tour, that they're more physical, they train harder, so let's go out there and climb into them, as you said. So
you were playing in centre, yeah?
Yeah.
Were you marking O'Driscoll or Greenwood, or whichever side?
Yeah, I think Greenwood.
Because he went off injured, I think, at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, and Wilkerson at 10.
Yeah. And I think at one point in the game, there were 5 players off the field. There were 3 of yours,
That's
I think,
right.
two Lions.
Yeah.
And then there's that horrendous incident where Duncan McRae runs the full length of the field and wallops Ogata 11 times. What's that all about? I mean, what? I didn't know the guy. I mean, was he's your
the thing
he's your teammate. What's going on?
From my point of view, they got involved in something, and it was ugly because he won the fight. He was so effective in the fight. I don't think, there was an altercation and they got into it, and he just landed a lot of punches. A lot of other people throw as many punches but don't land as many. So
he's just very, very good at doing what he did.
Yeah, that's my view on it anyway. But in the game, it was strange to have 12 for us and 13 for them. It was a very open game, and a game we were in. But once that happened, the Lions kicked away, and if that didn't happen, we might have been a chance to tip them up and make something special happen. But
well, talk me through your try, because you scored a try against the British Lions. Wow, man, that's
yeah, that's probably one of my career highlights.
Yeah,
but, we were pressuring their line. We had some good attack, and there was a maul created in the far right corner, and I've gone to the back of the ruck. I'm not normally I don't normally do a pick and go from the back of the ruck, but I picked the ball up and tried to barge over. Got pushed back, but as I got pushed back, I saw an opening. I've got these long arms, and I just rinsed the ball over the line and found the stripe. So that was a good feeling.
Yeah, I should say. Yeah, I mean, the Lions is a great institution, isn't it? When anywhere they go, and O'Driscoll, he was playing around. I mean, would you class him as one of the best centres to have played the game, do you think?
One of the best players.
Yeah.
Really, he's just phenomenal athlete. The amount of skill, combined with just competitive edge and just that determination to win, do anything to win, and love watching him play, love playing against him.
Ireland have that knack of producing great centres over the years. Throughout the years they produce. Now they've got a couple of really good centres as well.
Yeah.
In Wales we've got the outside half factory in Tonopandi, which turns out all these outside halves,
Yeah.
That's
and that's what makes the British and Ireland Lions such a good team. They've got all these different players coming from 4 different countries, and as you said, a great institution, a great initiative that they travel the world and play all this.
And it's every 4 years, so you don't get bored with it. Everybody's waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
And when's the next one? 2017. Where are they going next time?
I have to think it'd be New Zealand.
Yeah. Oh, something's flickering there. Anyway, I think we better wrap it up there. Listen, you've been a great ambassador for Australia. You're now a great ambassador for Japan. Thank you for joining us on TOKYOREAL. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
No worries, Ian. I really enjoyed TOKYOREAL, and I think it's a good initiative from you. I wish you all the best with it. It looks like it's going great guns.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Ian.
And remember, TOKYOREAL is sponsored by The Edge, Performance Analysis Solutions. Give yourself the edge.
Back then when life was easy and high,